Hey everyone, welcome to the rollout. I'm Linsay Rousseau.
And I'm Genevieve Marie. Hello and welcome. Thanks for
Yeah, and
joining us tonight.
I know, and we are so excited. We are now powered by Culture Slate, so we are so happy to be here. If you like what you see, head on over to cultureslate.com and also check out our Patreon. And also, Genevieve, how can they find more of us?
Well, more of us, just, like, subscribe, ring that bell so that you get notifications every time we upload a new video. That is every Friday at 12 o'clock. Be sure to write a comment down below too and let us know if there's anything that you guys are interested in hearing us talk about, or if you liked our video. And please do all of those things for us.
Yay. All right. So this video is going to be airing on April 30th, which kicks off Jaspers Game Week, which we are so excited about. And so, of course, we had to start off with bringing on Fenway Jones, aka the Teen DM, the creator and mastermind behind Jaspers Game Day, which is now a week. Fenway, thank you so much for being here.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I've been really excited to be on here.
Yay. Well, why don't you just tell people a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So, like Linsay mentioned, I am Fenway Jones, also known on Twitter as FenwayTeenDM, or on all of the social medias at Jaspers Game Day. Jaspers Game Day I founded 4 years ago. We raise money for suicide prevention and awareness through gaming. So that's kind of what I do.
Yay. Well, I mean, that's amazing that you were able to, because you were how old when you first started this?
14.
If we all could have been that productive at 14, I mean, let's be honest here. Well, I mean, obviously, the circumstances surrounding why you created this, are obviously very, upsetting. But just explain to people a little bit about how you came to come up with this idea.
Sure. So 4 years ago, I lost two friends to suicide within the span of a few months. And before that, I hadn't previously encountered much of any mentions of suicide, and I didn't really kind of understand it. So it took me a while to understand my grief and understand where it was going. But after I did, I realized I wanted to use it to be able to create something positive and create hope for those in the same situations of suicidal ideation or those who have lost loved ones to suicide. And so we started Jaspers Game Day.
So what was it exactly about D&D? Like, why did you want to tie in your, suicide awareness specifically to Dungeons and Dragons?
Well, D&D was my connection with one of the people that I had lost. So the first person that I lost, the first friend that I lost, his name is Jasper. He's the namesake of the organization, and he was my gaming partner in crime. So we went to conventions together, we played weekly together, and, so gaming was kind of our connection thing we had in common, and was how I decided to honor that.
Yeah.
So if we weren't in the middle of a pandemic, what would Jaspers Game Day look like outside of streaming? Is it always streamed, or do you have an event that you set up shop in, like an actual place to do it? What would it look like?
So we do have live events periodically. Our main one would be typically in Michigan, where I'm based out of. But we do have live events all around the country. And then we also go to different conventions that want to host a Jaspers Game Day table. It just depends on and if we're running it or if we're going to a convention.
Got you. Yeah, that's great. It's so sad that we don't have that we don't have conventions this year, but I think do you think that maybe you'd be able to reach a lot more people now that gaming has become, kind of online? I mean, it has to be completely remote now. So do you think that maybe the popularity might have shot up a bit? Not necessarily for your game in particular, but for, gaming remotely in general, like getting eyes on it?
I'm not sure if the popularity has shot up, more necessarily the connectivity. So people are it's much easier to connect people when you don't have to be at one central location to do so. You could be online, you could be all across the world. You just have to find the right time to hop on a Zoom call and play a game. For Jaspers, we have had we went from just doing live events to doing online events, and we have now interacted with like something like 45 states and like 5 or 6 different countries. We've been on 4 different continents, I believe, with our events. So it's pretty fantastic. The online reach has.
Well, and you've also now been able to pull in quite a lot of celebrities for your events as well. I mean, obviously raffling off opportunities to play in certain people's games. I mean, explain how that, development came to be.
Well, most of the time my answer is I don't really know. People just really wanted to support the cause. I will say a lot of it I attribute to having built up good connections. So like my mentor Satine Phoenix has connected me with a lot of people that she knows, and I've gotten to know people in the community, which has connected me with others. And so the community itself is the most important part, and that's how it's driven me to be able to get access to all of these amazing celebs.
Right. So for all of this, you're not raising money for one charity specifically. Like you mentioned, community is really important. So why don't you let people know a little bit about like how, all the fundraising works and how it actually goes back to help local communities?
Mm-hmm. So I'll start with our live events and then kind of go into our online events, because there's 2 different ways that we do this. So for live events, wherever we have our event based at is where the money gets donated back to. So previous to the event, we will find a crisis center or somebody who is promoting the ideas of suicide prevention and awareness, and we will donate the money that we raised to them. The one requirement that we have is they have to be part of the American Association of Suicidology for our live events, because we know that they're reputable and we know where the money is going and what's being done with it. For our online events, most of the money goes to for the American side of things, most of the money goes to the American Association of Suicidology and helping fund and back the National Crisis Line, which is the line that anybody around the U.S. can call into and when they're in crisis.
Right.
And follow that. For our Australian event, for Australian streams, we are donating the money to an Australian charity.
Okay.
That is absolutely awesome.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I'm actually looking at your website right now, and you clearly outline where your donations go under the donations at work tab. And I have to say, I am very, very impressed. I mean, the last thing it looks like that you donated to, it's the first on the list, is Lighthouse for Veterans, which that is an awesome organization. Do you personally reach out to these organizations and say like, hey, or Jaspers Game Day, we're doing a thing, or do you just donate anonymously? How does that work if you reach out to them at all?
So usually it's either us reaching out to them, or sometimes they reach out to us if they're in dire need for
that's
funds.
wonderful.
And so we've done for our Lighthouse for Veterans, that was actually our last in-person event we did in March of 2020. And
You snuck that one in there right
Yeah.
at the last minute. Nice. Good for you.
Right. Yeah, it was the first week of March, and then everything shut down.
Oh my God. Yeah.
But the Lighthouse for Veterans, we actually reached out to them because we had been wanting to do something. And so previous to that event, we had only been donating specifically to causes that were either general suicide prevention or teen suicide prevention due to the background of the organization. But we decided that we wanted to branch out and reach different communities. And so since we've done events for veterans and for the LGBTQ communities.
Awesome. I mean, it's so great that you can even have that, even to be able to say that you have grown exponentially. That is wonderful.
Yeah. So when you mentioned that, your friends who passed, D&D was a really big part of what you guys used to do together. And we've talked about this previously on the show, but do you feel like there is a therapeutic element to playing Dungeons and Dragons that, that's why maybe we do see such a, synergy when it comes to the D&D community and supporting people who might be struggling emotionally and things like that?
Absolutely, 100%. So as we have grown in Jaspers Game Day, we've actually talked with different therapists, different doctors, people in the mental health community about the effects and the benefits of role-playing games and TTRPGs. So we definitely have found that the community of role-playing games is one of the things that helps people in mental health crisis a lot. And not only people in mental health crisis, people who are one of the examples often given is people who are on the autistic scale or the spectrum. That often allows for socialization, how to interact with people, able to be at a table and not necessarily have to be yourself, and be a character and be able to not think about what's going on in the real world for anywhere from, however long the game is lasting.
Right. I mean, and obviously it's kind of, online can be a double-edged sword because obviously it gives us the ability to connect with people globally. You're obviously able to hold this amazing event online, but I imagine the online element is also one of the things that causes a lot of, especially teens, a lot of harm because, this whole generation of youth is having to deal with cyberbullying and trolls and all of that. And, how it seems like a really complicated world to have to navigate through. And, what are some of your thoughts on dealing with that? And,
So with Jaspers, we typically, and as much as we would like to, we typically don't focus necessarily on the bad aspects of the online aspects of things, because we want to, our main focus here is the hope and the positivity and what we can do to help the community. And so if we can focus on the positive aspects of it, we like to think that they outweigh the negative. Obviously, we would like to get back to live events, and live events are a lot of fun. It's great to see people, great to interact with them in person, but at the same time, online can cause issues, but we like to more focus on the hope and the positivity of reaching more people.
Yeah.
I think if it's your own stream, you can mitigate a lot of the issues.
Of course.
Since you have the control. I do see that you have an ambassador program, which That's very interesting. Can you explain a little bit about the ambassador program, like who can join, what they do?
Sure. So last year, probably mid-year, we were getting requests for events and for people to join that we just, as an organization, didn't have the people power to, take care of and to assist with. And so we decided that we would create what's called our ambassador program. And we gathered people, we put out a call for people in the community who were online personas and streamers to come and join the Jaspers Game Day family. Our goal originally was 5. We now have 19.
Nice.
And so a lot more people responded than we expected. And so it was a fantastic, surprise. And so we were excited about that. The ambassadors are people in the streaming Twitch community who are able to uphold the values of Jaspers and be able to get their, reach out there, because they don't do only TTRPGs. We have some people who are crafters, some people who are variety, some people who do just video games, and so there's a variety of different people in our ambassador program.
Nice.
That's so good. So in the past 4 years that you've been doing this, I mean, I can only imagine all the amazing things that have happened. Is there a particular event or, anything that happened that really stuck out for you, that just really excited you or surprised you or something like that?
I mean, yes, I'm sure there are plenty of them. One thing that I think is one of my favorite kind of stories to tell is there was a person who we used to regularly interact with previously before we started Jaspers. And when we started Jaspers, we thought it was, a no-brainer to get them involved. But they respectfully declined to be a part of Jaspers because they did not agree with crisis centers and the idea of hotlines, because they did not think that was the way to go about suicide prevention. And over the last 3.5 years, we've had our community and they just saw how powerful it was, and we've talked to people on their staff and their staff talked to them. And last year we got them reluctantly, they agreed to be a part of an event, and then this year they asked to be a part of the event, and they matched one of the large donations for the table. And so it's just a really inspiring thing to me to know that our community we gave them the time that they needed to see how powerful it was that what we were doing.
Right. Oh, that is so great to hear. I mean, and anyone that plays D&D, well, not anyone, but most people that I know who play D&D have absolutely heard of Jaspers Game Day. And, it's just, it's synonymous with, just help and support and uplifting. And I've always been a fan of your, no one's a critical failure, which I just think is one of the best mottos ever.
Thank you.
It's just so exciting. So for this year, how many events do you have going on for this week? And maybe just like walk us through like how this whole week's going to go down.
For Jaspers Game Week, this will take a little bit. So we start on April 30th. For the first 2 days, April 30th and May 1st, are on D&D Beyond. So twitch.tv/D&D Beyond. And we have 4 games per day on each day. After that, May 2nd through May 7th is on twitch.tv/mini terrain domain. And we have 4 games per day on the 2nd through the 7th, starting at noon EST. The off hours, we call them the off hours, the Australian hours of these days, we are running 3 games on Australian time zones. So we're going for 21 hours a day. We have a 3-hour break in between the end of the Aussie streams in the beginning of the US ones.
So great.
And then after that, the 8th, 9th, and 10th, we have Pathfinder and Starfinder streams on twitch.tv/Hearthsinger Games. We also have a convention that we call Paizo Organized Play Convention, which is one that Jaspers is putting on. We are also working with the virtual D&D weekend for Baldwin. And then we also are running games all throughout the week on Start Playing Games.
Right.
And then the last day, May 11th, is we have 2 different games on that day. The first game, 3:30 to 6:30 p.m. EST, is Penny for a Tale. And then the last game, 7 to 11 p.m. EST, is on Lark Adventures. We're playing Melee Ball, which is a sport D&D thing.
That sounds really cool. Ooh.
Yeah.
So for
Basically,
people,
you'd be hard to miss it.
right. Yeah.
Yes.
Right. You'd be
Well, so for
hard pressed
people-
to miss it.
Yeah. So for people who tune in, and want to support you guys and support all the events going on, like, what are some of the cool, because you have a lot of sponsors now, and you guys are raffling off some amazing things. So for people who maybe are not as familiar with you as others, like, what are some of the cool things that people can get for helping support you guys?
Yeah. During each of the games, we have these things called Tiltify Rewards, and some of them can include ways that you can affect the game going on right at that moment. So, say you could give a player a reroll, you could give a player a wild magic surge, you could give the DM advantage or disadvantage, things like that. You could make a monster appear. There are a lot of different options that each table has available. We also have professionally painted minis that will be available this year, as well as some private games run by more people who wanted to be involved but could not be involved with the streams. And we are selling those. And then we have Jaspers GameDay dice. We have lots of different things that are going to be available on our Tiltify.
Awesome. I want to hear about the sporting event. What is the sport? tell me.
It's so exciting. Yeah.
It's called Melee Ball. And basically there are 3 teams of 2, and it's a competitive D&D, basically. So there's this ball, and think about it. I assume you've at least read or watched one Harry Potter thing. Think Quidditch mixed with D&D.
Nice.
Okay.
except for you're using your D&D skills instead of flying.
I was just going to say, is magic allowed on the field?
I mean, if you have the broom
Nice.
or the boots of flying, I guess then you are flying. So
Right. So whatever magical skills you have is what you can use on the field. There's no really rules against that.
That sounds like the most dangerous sport if it were real.
I know, right?
Yes.
Like
Especially
Harry Potter merges with LARPing. I don't know, maybe.
I don't know. Especially since you can get points for downing other characters.
Okay.
Nice, actually. That's my kind of sport.
I know, right? All from the safety of your couch or wherever you choose to be sitting.
Right.
Finish him.
So where do you see Jaspers Game Day going from here? Like, what are kind of your dreams of what you would like to see happen next?
I'm honestly not really sure. So I want to see it continue growing, obviously, but I want to just see how many people we can get involved. I want to continue affecting more lives. So our goal for this year to raise is $200,000 for the entire year. First quarter, we raised just over $75,000. So Yeah. You know, I just want to see us to continue to be the grassroots charity that changes the lives. We're not necessarily, focused on changing a big group. It's just about the next individuals that need help.
Right. So you mentioned you raise money year round. So outside of this week, what's going on during the rest of the year?
So after this week, we take a couple of months off. But during the rest of the year, we have ambassador events, because each of the ambassadors with their ambassadorship have agreed to do at least one event throughout the year. And then we go to different conventions, and we have people who aren't ambassadors doing streams for us. So it just depends on kind of like what's going on.
Right. Well, and obviously, conventions are making a way back. Do you already have one, on the books as far as like where you might be going next, potentially in person?
Yeah, so we're planning on Origins, Gen Con, and Gamehold Con are our three big ones that we're planning on right now.
Okay. And you had mentioned one of the things you guys raffle off is private games. So who are some of the people who are, running or playing in some of these private games that might entice people to, want to do something like that?
Sure. So we have games with people like Dan Dillon. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Honey and Dice. She is one of the DMs. We have Stefan Picorni, the owner of Dwarven Forge. We have quite a few different people. Right now, I think we have 9 different private games. James Introcaso running his game Burn Bright on Roll20. And all different sorts of people.
Yeah, James is great. We had him on the show before, and he was talking about Burn Bright and some of the other things that he was working on, which is it's always exciting, to be able to play with people who are so in depth in this community and have been working in D&D for so long. And obviously the Dwarven Forge guys are amazing as well.
Yes.
Do you have a favorite game that you've played in over the years? That's probably asking a lot because you've probably played in so many now. But is there any game you played in that just maybe either the people you played with or, something that happened that just kind of really stuck with you?
I wouldn't say I have a favorite, but I think there's one that will always stick with me because it was one of my first streamed the games that I was DMing. I think it was like the second or third time I DM'd on stream, and it was on D&D Beyond. And so I was like,
no pressure.
No pressure. Plus my players were Pat Rothfuss, Satine Phoenix, Amy Lindazura, Jessica Lynn Parsons, and Todd Kenrick. And so that game will always stick with me because it was a ton of fun, and I created all the characters in the adventure, and so it was a lot of fun.
Oh, that's so great. I mean, I can't even imagine DMing a game with people like that playing. You're just like, you guys are amazing.
The pressure is on.
Yeah, right. But I mean, obviously knowing those people, I'm sure they made it the most wonderful, welcoming, inclusive experience ever.
Yes. Yes. I mean, it helped a little bit that I was friends with most of them previous to running the game. So it was more of me just playing with friends rather than having to worry about the players themselves.
Right. So obviously you started this when you were 14, which is so young, I mean, obviously you're a teenager. It's not super, but it's still young. And, you think about things that a lot of, teenagers are doing that don't involve starting a charity and raising tens of thousands of dollars for, a really important cause. did you find any, what were some of the struggles or the obstacles that you overcame in, getting this amazing program off the ground, and, maybe some wisdom you could impart on other young people who might want to try and do something similar, helping to make a difference?
Well, so one of the things that I had to learn very quickly, and I'm still learning, but is the communication aspect of things. Mm. The communication is so important, and it's one of the most important parts about running something of this size, because you can't do it all yourself, and so you have to communicate with the people around you and rely upon them to be able to help you out, and make sure you're communicating with the people you need to be, and I just getting the support system. At first, I didn't really want to involve more people, because I was like, this is my small bubble. I don't know if I want to involve more people, in the leadership positions. But then I realized it was growing at such a rate that I couldn't, run everything by myself. And so I had to start putting more people in leadership positions to make sure that nothing fell apart. So,
right.
Yeah. And I'm sure it was so much better for you too, to take that pressure off, to find people that you could trust. And
yeah,
I'm sure it only made Jaspers Game Day even stronger because of it,
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I see it on the website that you can sponsor a game. You can become a sponsor. And there's an entire application that you can fill out in order to sponsor a game. Could you run us through, how to do that, or how to become a sponsor?
So sponsorships, we have a couple of different tiers. So the first ones, the tiers depend on what time of the game, what channel the game's on, who's running it, all the different factors of the game is what the different tiers are. So we have 250, 500, and 750, and they can be donated in product or cash. And you get your logo on the overlay of the game, as well as you get a blurb said about your company previous to the game and then after the break, because each game is 3 hours, and then we take a break about just around halfway through. And so when they come back from the game, they get their blurb.
Right. So not only can you do a really good thing, I mean, it's very lucrative if you can get that, really high tier game spot too. A lot of people will see it, and you can just be like, I sponsored a game in which Satine Phoenix is playing in, or, it's just, it's charity with perks attached to it. I think that is very clever. It's, that's a great way in order to help, to help Jaspers Game Day grow. How did you and your team come up with these ideas? Do you have a round table every week, or do you guys just kind of go in once a month and touch base and be like, all right, give me all the ideas, how can we make ourselves better?
So we have a meeting once a month, and then we also have a chat that all of our board members are in. That we converse in as well. So we only have 6 board members, and then we have our board of directors anyway, and then we have our board of advisors, and then we have all of our volunteers.
So you are obviously in college now. You have this amazing organization that you have started. So it's still very early, obviously, but do you have thoughts as to what you want to do in the future? Are you wanting to follow along kind of this, philanthropy path, or, what does Fenway want to do when she grows up? I mean, you are grown up. I say that. you've already done so much. So, what is next for you?
So I really want to go into sociology, and so I want to get a double bachelor's, maybe a double master's. I don't know. We'll figure it out as I go. But I really want to go into sociology and business management, specifically to work with nonprofits and in the gaming sphere.
Very nice.
That's a perfect combination. Absolutely.
I minored in sociology.
I majored in sociology. Yeah, there you go. But it's the study of people, the study of people, study of culture. So, that makes perfect sense with everything, that you're wanting to do. And of course, business management. I wish I had taken more business courses, because that is, as you've obviously figured out in running Jaspers, it's like the business side of things is so crucial, and often a lot of people have all these good intentions, but when it comes down to the nitty-gritty financials and all of that, that's where things can get bogged down.
I'm not sure I'll ever go accounting side of things. Money is not my
that's when you hire a bookkeeper, CPA.
Yeah.
That's like stage management for theater. It's a special group of people who can do that job and also do it very well.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. You have the creatives and then the creative wranglers.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. We in our board of directors, we have our director of accounting, who we more like to call the director of party funds.
Right. So what are you looking forward to in this week? What are some of the perks that you see happening this week?
So I'm really looking forward to, I'm playing in 2 games and running 1. Actually, I'm playing in 3. I forgot I bought the 3rd one. No offense to the 3rd game. I just have a lot of things to keep track of.
No, set your alarms.
Right. And so I'm playing in 3 games and running 1. So I'm really, really excited about those. I love being on camera and just playing, role playing, all that fun stuff. And then I'm also really looking forward to hanging out. So for the games that I'm not in, most of the time I'm in the chat, being there. I usually have it. I'm not a huge fan of watching D&D being played rather than playing it, but I love being in the chat and conversing with the people and those sorts of things.
Right.
Yeah, chat's always fun.
It is. It is.
Surprising. You always get some surprising zingers in chat, which I'm always...
Yes.
I always look forward to those, because people are funny.
They are.
Strangers can be the funniest. Like, those are the funniest comments. So now that you are in college, you did the high school thing, you have so much experience actually running your own nonprofit. What sort of wisdom would you impart to people who are just starting out, who might have been, your age and trying to do their own nonprofit or trying to get into something that is similar?
My first piece of advice would be to rely on the community. Like I said before, don't do it all yourself. It probably will not end very well, because you don't have all of the skills necessary. No one has every skill in the book. And so grab the people around you, form a little group that knows what they need to do, that you can trust, and get the skills that you need. Get the skill sets.
Yeah. And how did you go about getting those skills that you needed?
So the first time that I tried to assemble my board of directors, it did not end well. Most of the people did not fit the skill sets that we ended up needing. And so we had to kind of rearrange a couple of things and find more people that fit the skill sets that we were really looking for. And so now we have our 6 people, and they were all part of the gaming community, people who stepped up and wanted to be a part of Jaspers and started out as volunteers and then worked their way up.
Yeah, that's great. So is there anything else you want to let people know about you and about Jaspers that maybe we haven't covered yet before we wrap up here?
I think the only thing that I would kind of throw in there is more just access us, learn more information at JaspersGameDay.com, and keep your eye out. So we have Jaspers Game Day dice sets on diehard.com and Jaspers Game Day pins that we have just recently announced on Beetle and Grimm's website.
I love pins.
I love Pin, and I love Beetle and Grimm. Those guys are amazing.
Yeah.
That's so exciting.
Yeah. Oh, we love them. The puppets. Oh my god.
Oh my gosh, the finger puppets. So good.
I literally have them in my desk right here.
Oh my god. No, you must show me those. Show me those. I don't have
We've been like lusting after them because they're not available anymore.
We're poor.
Yeah, I know that too.
Oh, it's so cute.
This is my favorite one because it's so soft.
Oh, yeah.
And then there's, the faceless doll.
Yes.
Yes.
And then my other favorite one, that's the jester.
That one was actually my favorite.
Yeah, that one
cute.
So great with
It
the bells.
reminds me of a robot that's in Near Automata, and so cute. I love it. I love those things.
So Fenway, remind people again, how can they find you and everything on social media? How can they follow and get involved? And
so, like I said, FenwayTeenDM on Twitter, at Jaspers Game Day on all of the social medias, including YouTube and Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all of those fun things. And go to JaspersGameDay.com for more information on where to find us.
Yay. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Fenway. This is amazing. I know you've got a lot of things you still need to wrap up, so we will let you go. But Jen, how can people continue to follow us here at the Rollout?
Well, if you'd like to follow the Rollout, please like, subscribe, leave a comment down below, and please remember to ring that bell so that you get notified every time we upload a new video. Just so y'all know, we upload every Friday at 12 a.m. Yeah, 12 p.m. 12 p.m. And that's at Pacific Standard Time. So please check out more of our stuff. We got so many other cool things to show you. And
Yeah. And also, please make sure to check out Culture Slate and all the other amazing videos that they have. If you like Star Wars, they've got so much Star Wars content.
If you like a Star Wars,
please follow Culture Slate on all the social medias. Check out their website and their Patreon. And thanks so much for joining us. And again, Fenway, thank you again. And
thank you for having me.
Yeah. And we will see you next week.
See ya. Join Jaspers Game Day. Join it.
Yeah. Go join right now. Bye.